We will begin this training by going to tinyurl.com/sback math site. Make sure it's typed exactly as you see it here. Once you're at the site to access the practice tests, click on the left-hand menu for practice tests. Find the Click Here button, the blue here underlined, and click there. It will open a new tab. Begin the process of signing in. Select your appropriate grade. For this case, we are doing the grade 6 practice test. Click on Start Grade 6 Math Practice Test. Scroll down, press Select, scroll down, and press Yes, Start My Test. This screen brings you to an overview of what the testing site looks like. We will actually be going over every single feature on the testing site as we go through the practice assessment. So click on Begin Test Now. When you take the SBAC test this spring, this is what your screen will look like for the mathematics portion. Let's take a little tour. In the top left-hand corner, we have a drop-down menu that brings you to the different questions that you'll see. You can use this to navigate between questions at any time during the test. You have back and next buttons, which will bring you back and forward to the questions that happen next. You may pause your test at any time during the timed portion. The zoom out and zoom in keys allow you to make the question bigger if you necessitate it. This is the main focus of all questions. The question number will always be in the top left-hand corner. And in the top right-hand corner of every question, you'll see these 3 little lines that when you hover over will turn a different color. Click on that now. This menu provides 4 different options if you are on a multiple choice question, or 3 different options if you are on another question. The first choice is tutorial. Click on that now. The tutorial is available for any question, and it gives you helpful hints on how to begin answering that question. Since this is a multiple choice question, the tutorial will show you a multiple choice example and how to answer it. Click out of tutorial. The tutorial is helpful if you get to any question that you feel stuck on. It could provide you with helpful hints on what to do next. The next choice is Notepad. Notepad is useful if you would like to make notes to yourself. Remember to check question 1. You can save and close the Notepad, and your notes will be stored for you to reference at a later time. The third option is Mark for Review. When you click Mark for Review, it automatically marks this question so you can go back to it at a later time. You will notice in the top left-hand corner, it actually states marked next to the question. It's helpful if you had difficulty on a problem and you would like to go back and check it. It's helpful if you have to skip a problem and you'd like to go back and check it. The last option, which is only available on multiple choice questions, is called Strike Through. Strike Through is an option that's helpful when you're answering multiple choice questions. You will notice that when I pressed on Strike Through, a small box appeared around the multiple choice questions. What Strike Through does is it allows you to strike out answers that are incorrect. So for instance, I know that answer choice D is absolutely incorrect. So I can strike through it and it will draw a line through that answer choice. You can get out of strike through by clicking outside of the answer box. You'll notice that the square has gone away. Please choose answer choice A and click on the Next button. You will notice that once you've done that, a Save button has appeared in the top left-hand corner. The Save button is important, and we should always save our work as we move through each question. Get in the habit of once you press Next, also press Save. We don't want to lose any of our work that we've done throughout our session. You've already gone through the equation editor tool, so now enter your answer for number 2. Hit the fraction key and 1/2. Click Next. The following is an example of a true and false question. These answer choices are simply chosen by clicking on the actual box itself. Go ahead and do so now. Notice that when you choose an answer choice, it highlights it and puts the check marks. Please be careful, though, that you might accidentally click 2 check boxes at once. If this is done and you submit your answer, it will be graded incorrectly. So make sure that if you have 2 chosen, you only choose 1. You can simply click on it again and it will deselect. Let's click Next, and remember to also hit Save. Question 4 is an example of a 2-part question. Notice that the question is actually on the left-hand side of the screen, while your answer area is on the right-hand side of the screen. This is an example where when you read the question, the words will give you an idea of what you're expected to do. So in part A, they would like you to shade the model. Let's go ahead and shade part A to the correct answer, 2 5/10. I've shaded 2 entire rows, and I will shade in part of the 3rd row. What happens if I accidentally click one more box? In order to get rid of that shading, you simply click on it again and the shading will go away. Now let's look at part B. Part B gives you 2 options. It asks if Carlos has enough wire. If he does, how much will be left over? And if he does not, how much more does he need? It tells you that you would drag the value into one of the boxes. So this question is very unique, and it has an or option, meaning we're either going to fill something in here or we fill something in here, but it won't be in both. So for this problem, the top answer blank is left blank, and we have to fill in the answer of 1/10 into the second answer blank. So let's choose 1/10 and fill it into the answer blank. Uh-oh, I made a mistake. I wanted to put in 1/10, but I accidentally put in 2/10. Let me get rid of that. Oh no, I can't get rid of it. What do I do? If you ever run into a situation where you've made a mistake and you need to delete something, look above the menu. There will be tools here for particular problems. In this case, there's the Delete tool. Click on the Delete tool. Once you've chosen a tool, it will highlight in white. Go down to the bottom, click on what you would like to delete, and it will delete it. If it is still white, that means the tool is still in operation. You can stop that by clicking on the arrow. Your tools for any problem will always be located above the answer box. Again, your tools for any problem will always be located above the answer box. Please make sure you're aware of where the tools are located. Also, be aware that in order to use a tool, you must click it first. In order to use a tool, you must click it first. That is the only way a tool will be operable. So let's fill in the correct answer. Let's click Next and save. So for the following problem, question number 5, it's asking us to answer if this answer choice is yes or no for the stipulation in the problem. Let's practice clicking on the answer boxes. Yes, no, yes, no, and yes. Remember, you may accidentally choose both boxes, which would make your problem wrong. So check your work carefully and be sure to click any boxes that you need to before moving on to the next problem. Let's click Next. Number 6 is a very different problem than anything we've seen so far. This problem asks you to draw a rectangular base to answer the problem. Again, look at the words in the problem to give you a hint on what to do. Use the Connect Line tool to draw a base that shows Micah's claim is incorrect. So, as soon as I see the cue, use the Connect Line tool, I have to find where my tools are located. And if you remember, all tools are located above the answer area. So let's click on the Connect Line tool. I know that it's clicked because it's turned white. This will now allow me to put my answer in to the answer area. So with the Connect Line tool, to make a line, I simply click and you'll see a red dot form, and that begins the line. Now you can stretch it any which way, and you'll have a line made. To stop the line, click again. Now, since I'm making a square, I need to make sure that all of my lines are connected. So take very good care when putting in your square. Oops, I made another mistake. I meant to only put in a rectangle, but I accidentally drew this extra portion of the line. I need to get rid of that if I want to submit my answer and get credit. So again, I need to go above the answer area, click the Delete tool, and come down here and click on one of the points of that line. That will delete the line for you. All right, I've completed my answer. Now you take a second and try to do it on your own. Play around with the Connect Line tool. Play around with the Delete tool. Go ahead, we'll wait. Now that you've had some time to play around, let's go to the next problem. Click Next, and remember to save. Number 7 is a different type of problem. It kind of looks like a multiple choice, but it's actually not. Let's read the directions here. Read the first 3 words. Select all equations. Select all. When you read a problem like this, we need to know that when it says all, we could have more than one answer choice. So, let's click the first and the last, as these are the correct answer choices for this problem. So again, remember, select all means you may have more than one answer as a possible answer choice. Let's click Next and save as we go. Number 8, we see the on-screen keyboard, and we have an answer of 10. So you can use the on-screen keyboard, or you can use the keys on your computer to enter your answer. Let's click Next and save. Here we also have the on-screen keyboard, and we're going to divide this and find the quotient. So let's do that. The answer is 689. Let's enter our answer, click Next, and then save. For number 10, I see a select all. As soon as I see the word all, I need to remember that I might have more than one answer here. So I need to be very careful when choosing the correct answers. Let's click 8t plus 32, and also 8 times t plus 8 times 4. Let's click Next. Let's save. The next problem is very similar to one we've seen before. The question is on the left-hand side of the screen, and the answer blanks are on the right-hand side of the screen. Again, notice that any tool that's available is above the answer area. So, this is a two-part question, so I need to make sure that I fill in an answer for both parts. Part A says drag one number into each box. Again, here are the directions to tell me what I need to do. So let's drag an answer into the box. Let's fill in 1/3. There's 1 in the numerator, 3 in the denominator. Now let's look at part B. Let's fill in 2/1. Uh-oh, I made another mistake. Let's remember how I can delete my mistake. I need to go and select the tool Delete first, then click on what I would like to delete. That got rid of my mistake. I'll be more careful in the future. Now let's fill in the proper denominator that I wanted. Very good. Let's go to click Next. Ooh, we've reached the end of this segment. So as you already know, when you take the test this spring, there's 2 segments that you need to take. Since I've reached the end of this segment, I may review any questions that I still have issues on. I noticed that I checked 1. Remember when we flagged and we marked that problem to go back and later check it? I can click on it here and it will bring me back to that problem. Or I can go back up to this menu. Notice where it says marked. I can also use this menu to navigate to any other problem. I can also go back to the review page. I'm pretty confident in all of my answers, so I'm going to submit that and press Next now. It asks me if I'm sure. I am sure. And that brings us to part 2 of the test. So, on part 2, we have many of the same features that we saw on part 1, but there's something new. And there's something we haven't used yet. And I'd like to start by pointing that out. If I look to the top right, I'm going to notice a new button has shown up. It's the calculator button. Click on that now. A calculator will show up on your screen, and you can actually move this calculator around to wherever you need it to be. This calculator is the only calculator you'll be allowed to use on this test. It has all of the features you recognize. It has a backspace, so if I made a mistake while entering a number, I can backspace and get rid of it. It has the function keys you're familiar with: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. It also has an equal sign. You may notice one key that you may or may not be familiar with. This is the square root key. You will not need this key on the 6th grade test. To get rid of the calculator from your screen, simply X out. Now, the calculator feature is only available for some problems, not all of them, so you might not be able to use a calculator on some of these problems. When it shows up, however, you can absolutely click on it. So let's enter in some of our answers and check out some of the problems. So let's enter in for 12, 200. Click Next, and of course, save. In the next 3 problems, I would like to point out how the question can give us hints on what I should put in the answer box. So for example, on number 13, it says enter the number. So when I enter my answer in, it has to be a number. Let's enter 450. Click Next and save. In this problem, when I look at what the question is asking me to do, it says enter the fraction. So when I put an answer in my answer box, I want to ensure that I'm entering a fraction. Let's enter 3/5 for this fraction, as it's the correct answer. Let's click Next. Number 15. Which equation could be used? Which equation? So it's telling us to choose an equation. And again, this is a multiple choice question. Don't forget, we have options over here where if you wanted to use the strike through feature, you could strike through answers that you know are not correct. There's also another feature to this question that's very interesting. If you notice, some of the words have a little box around them. It's very slight and very difficult to see. But if you highlight it and click on it, it will give you a definition to the word. This isn't always available, but it is sometimes there. Notice on groceries. If I hover over it, it turns blue, and when I click on it, it gives me a definition of groceries. Let's click Next and save. Number 16. Notice, when you see words in bold, that is very important to pay attention to. So, enter an equation. This wants me to enter an equation. Take a second. Talk about it. What is an equation? What makes up an equation? What has to be there for it to be an equation? I'll wait. Go ahead. By now you should know, after discussing it with your classmates and your teacher, an equation has to have an equal sign in it. So when I type my answer, I need to say, put in an equal sign. So let's do that. Y equals X plus 40. Great job. Let's go click Next and save. For number 17, we are going to enter the answer of 210. Let's click Next and save. Number 18. Number 18 is definitely a different type of problem, so let's take a second to concentrate on this. Again, it's a two-part question that asks you, in part A, to select whether Ben's statement is true or false. In this case, Ben is false. In order to do that, all you have to do is click on false, and you'll see that it's highlighted. That's how I know my answer is in the system. For part B, however, this is very different. Part B asks you to drag numbers into the box. Drag the numbers. Now, for this problem, the answer is 280 cubic feet. So when I drag my answer, you'll notice I have to drag 3 different digits into the box to make my answer. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You can actually move the numbers around and put them where you need them to go. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and it might be quite difficult with the mouse, but make sure you check your work and you have the right number in there. Give it a try. Let's click Next and save. Again, look at the question. Drag each ordered pair to its correct location on the grid. So when I look to the right in the answer area, I'm going to drag the answer choices from this area onto the grid. So let's do so. Go ahead and do so now. Notice how when you click on one of the points, it highlights a big blue box around it. That tells you the point you're moving at that time. Let's click Next and save. For number 20, let's enter 168. Let's click Next and save. Number 21, we've done many true and false already. So let's click in the answers. True, false, 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 true, false. Let's click Next and save. Number 22, the answer is 45. Please enter 45, click Next, and save. Number 23, very similar to true and false, a yes or no. Let's click Yes, No, Yes. Again, make sure you only have one box selected. Click Next and save. Number 24 is an example of a problem where we have to drag n to the number line. So remember, the box in the middle is where you pick up the n and we drag it to the number line. For this problem, the answer is correct if you place the n to the right of the 0 in part A. Notice after I put the n down, there's still another n in the answer box. So we can choose it again to drag it down to part B. Let's place those n's on there. Click Next and save. Number 25 tells us use the Connect Line tool. So I know that I need to locate my tools, choose the correct one to put my answer in. The answer for this problem is between 4 and 9. Notice that after I put my point down, the line forms. So that will allow me to place my other point. Once the points are there, if you click on the arrow key on the tools, you could actually move it if you made a mistake. Or you could delete the points and try again. Let's click Next. And we've come to number 26. It's a multiple choice question. Let's click B. Let's click Next and save. Number 27 is an example of a problem where you must enter the information using your keyboard. So for the answer, we're going to enter 15. We'll click Next, and brings us to 28, which is our final problem. Let's click C and look up at the top. It tells us that our test has been completed and is ready to submit. Remember, if there's any question you need to go back and check, you can always use the pull-down menu to do so. If I click End Test, it will ask me to make sure, and I am done. I'll click Yes. Now that I've reached the end of the test, I can still go back and review anything I want. You guys have all done a great job, and you should be very proud of yourselves. So let's submit the test and make sure we want to do that. Press Yes, and we are complete. Thank you guys so much for all of your hard work today. You did a great job. And remember, you can do anything that you set your mind to.